Well, welcome back to another episode of Ask Dizzy on the Still Not Out podcast channel. My name is Travis Wakeling. I'm joined by the man who inspired this podcast, Jason Dizzy Gillespie, and he's back in town from a hectic few days in Brizzy. How'd you go up there, Diz? Keep nice and cool?
Yeah, g'day, Trav, and hello, everyone. Look, it was a fascinating test match. It was, obviously Australia came out on top, but I think we saw something from England that suggested that they can pivot, they can adjust and adapt their game to conditions and situations, which I think has been a bit of the criticism of them, particularly with their batting, that they play one way. But we saw Ben Stokes and Will Jacks on that morning or that afternoon of day four, rather, adjust and adapt their game to the situation and the conditions.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a little bit of a potentially a turn of luck, maybe for them, or a turn of a change of approach. But we'll get into your analytics in just a minute. But for you, as a commentator on ABC, you've travelled up a day or two before. You've got a day-night test, so a bit of a different day for you, being that the late finish every day, but then you don't start until after midday. What did you get up to in your mornings over there that you had to sort of schmoozy around?
Had a couple of runs. It was beautiful. There's the Botanic Gardens there, which is just across the river from South Brisbane, South Bank, because we were staying ABC. We were near the Gabba, so we weren't far away, but we were near South Bank. So you go across the bridge, across the Brisbane River, and then you've got the Botanic Gardens, and you can run along the river. It's just beautiful. So I went for a couple of walks and went for a couple of runs as well. So it was very, very nice. But Brisbane, beautiful city. The people are lovely, and it's a really nice place.
Catch up with any old mates or share any old stories with any of the old Aussie boys?
Caught up with a few. Obviously, my great mate Darren Lehman. He's the head of the social committee with the ABC. So he got us after the game. We went to the Queensland Cricketers Club, and it was nice. Darren actually paid for a beer, which is a pretty rare event. So it was. It was actually very nice of Buffer, he's a great social chairman. So him and myself have been tasked with the social events for the ABC crew in Adelaide for the next Test match. So I've got to think of somewhere to go.
I've got an idea for you: the Seacliff Golf Course.
Seacliff Golf Course.
I reckon you could bring the crew down, get on the golf course, have a couple of beverages. And that could be your little niche event. So we better touch base about that after the pod, Diz, see if we can get the crew down there. But mate, second test match.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier that day four, it just felt like a bit of a change up from the English, but something that really interested me, and you were a fast bowler who could, you would have ticked over 150 at your best. So I want to know, Jofra Archer was bowling 135 to 140 in the Australians' first innings. And then he really cranked it up when the Aussies were chasing 64 to win at the end of day four. What is that a mindset thing? Is he, fired up knowing that he just doesn't have much left that he needs to bowl for the game? How does that work? How do we get to that point?
Yeah, look, maybe he knew he didn't have to bowl long and he just came out and was aggressive. I'll tell you what, I reckon England would have liked him to do that in the first innings or even in the first test. If he's bowling 150, I mean, he's a devastating bowler when he gets it right. But is this a fitness thing? Because I'm not questioning Jofra Archer's fitness by any stretch. I want to make that clear. But what I'm saying is that he hasn't played a lot of multi-day cricket over the last 4 or 5 years because he's had injuries, right? So he's played a lot of short-form cricket. He might just not have the motor or the tank to be able to bowl long, sustained spells because he's had those injuries and the like. So maybe it is just a robustness thing, a fitness issue in terms of or conditioning issue more so than fitness. Maybe he just hasn't had that volume of bowling, so he hasn't been able to, is not able to continue and bowl with sustained speed.
Who did you think was the pick of the England bowlers in that game?
Oh, that's a good question. Bryden Castle copped some stick for how many runs he went for, but I'll tell you what he did. He ran in hard. He was tasked with bowling short ball plan. So as a bowler, you just follow the plan. A bit like Brendan Doggett for Australia. You just follow the plan of what the team, what the captain, what the coach tells you. So I was impressed with Bryden Cass for that. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think he bowled particularly well, but I love the fact that he just kept charging in and he was doing a job for the team. Whether it was the right plan or not, that's another conversation. But I love the fact that he just continually ran in the whole time for England.
And speaking of players that are, peak fitness and trying everything for their team, how good was the performance? And just talk to us about, I mean, you weren't a wicket keeper yourself, but how difficult it is to be a wicket keeper. You would know from spending years and years playing alongside some of the great wicket keepers. But Alex Carey, his concentration to do what he did in that second test, I mean, I think you said it yourself. It was one of the best wicket-keeping displays you've ever seen. But in terms of his test career, he is getting better and better, and he's still got a few years left in him. Where do you think he might end up by the time he finishes his career? I think he's genuinely in the conversation, if he keeps this trajectory, as the number 2 Australian wicketkeeper of all time.
He was superb, Alex Carey. And I mean, obviously in the media centre at the Gabba, you cross paths with a lot of football players, and Adam Gilchrist and Brad Haddon, they were just frothing at the mouth. They've just said that was keeping porn, I think they referenced it as. They absolutely loved it. I think we all did. I think we all saw a display of keeping that that was as good as you will ever see. And look, Alex Carey, I've been saying this for a long time. I think he's the best keeper in the world. Whenever you say that, you have all these people, particularly English, they'll come back, oh, what about Ben Folkes and all this sort of stuff? He's the best keeper. Well, I'm sorry, but my argument is that Alex Carey has done it consistently at test level for a long time now. He was superb in this Brisbane test. I thought he was excellent in Perth. Look, he's, as you said, he's just improving. He's getting better and better. He works hard at his game. And it's not a shock to me why he's keeping so well, because he works so hard. And I've seen it firsthand, having coached him for South Australia and the Adelaide Strikers over many years. He works incredibly hard at his wicket keeping and deserves all the plaudits that come his way.
And if you've ever come across Alex Carey, for those listening, you couldn't happen to a nicer bloke either. In my short stint at the Sacker, I didn't have much to do with him, but when I did, it was always the loveliest bloke that you could ever imagine. So as we look ahead to the third test, can England bounce back? I mean, they're 2-0 down, and it feels like a bad 2-0. It feels a lot worse than the 2-0 they were down in 2023 at home, given they were close losses and they had control of the game at different points. But they're just being absolutely smoked off the park at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the most frustrating thing, if you're an England supporter, is that they've had their chances in this series. So if you think back to the Perth test, the 2-day test, lunchtime on day 2, they were 100 runs in front with 9 wickets in hand. Had they applied themselves with the bat like Ben Stokes and Will Jacks did on the afternoon of day 4 in Brisbane, they could very easily would have been 1-0 up in this series. They did show that they can pivot and adjust and adapt their game to conditions and situations on day 4 in Brisbane. But being 2-0 down, it's going to be a tough ask to come back. I mean, I think it's only Bradman's the team Bradman played in back a long time ago is the only team that's come back from 2-0 down in an Ashes or in a Test series to win it. So it's going to take a lot. Do they have it in them? I'm not sure, to be honest.
I don't think so. Personally, if you needed some help with that one, Diz.
Yeah, no. Look, I just can't see it. Talent-wise, this England side is very good. They've been probably the most settled England team that I've seen in Ashes cricket. But yeah, just something's not quite clicking, and in those key moments, they're not able to step up and get the job done.
I think they might steal one still in either Melbourne or Sydney. That's just a feeling that I have, but we'll see how that plays out. Now, the bowling rotation interests me. Now, we don't think we're going to see Hazlewood. I think he's had some disruption with his Achilles, so it's sounding more and more.
I think that's just been confirmed that he's out of the whole series, which is a real shame from Australia's perspective. And it's a blow because we love seeing Josh Hazlewood go about his work. He's a wonderful bowler.
He is, but we'll get Pat Cummins back. We're pretty confident we'll get Pat Cummins back for the third test, which probably, unfortunately for South Australians who loving seeing Brendan Doggett in the test side, but that's probably the spot that Cummins comes in and takes straight away. Now, this is the interesting one, and I want to know your thoughts on this, Diz. I would be tempted, if I was an Australian selector, to rest Scott Boland ahead of a short turnaround into the MCG test and play Michael Nezza still. So I'm looking at, Nezza batting 8, Cummins batting 9, Stark 10, and Nathan Lyon coming back in number 11. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that could be a chance, or do you think Boland has to play?
I hadn't really thought of it, but that actually makes a little bit of sense to me. Let's be honest. Pat Cummins, 300-plus test wickets. Nathan Lyon, 560-odd test wickets. They'll come back in. So Australia will get over 800 wickets of experience. For Adelaide, I think George Bailey's all but guaranteed Nathan Lyon will play, which is the right call. And he should have played in Brisbane, but that's a whole other story. That's done and dusted. The selectors will argue they got it right because Australia won, and that's fair enough. But Nathan Lyon will come back in. Pat Cummins will come back in. I think the most likely scenario is that Brendan Doggett and Michael Neser will miss out. But I actually don't mind that suggestion of what you're saying is could we give Scotty Boland a bit of a rest, play Neser? I think out of Doggett and Neser, I think it'd be hard to leave Neser out after bagging Pfeiffer in that second innings up in Brisbane. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way the Australian selectors pivot. But yeah, I don't mind your suggestion. Giving Scotty a bit of a rest, and then knowing that Hazlewood's out now for the rest of the series might not be a bad option. Give him a break. He can play Melbourne and Sydney.
We'll see how that plays out. We'll probably hear not too far away what the Aussies are going to lean towards with that. These things seem to leak out into the media at different points. But my last question for you before we get to our listener questions, because we are in an Ask Dizzy episode and I'm hogging all the questions right now. That's terrible of me. But do you think that a winless tour would see the end of Baz McCullum?
Yes. There's not much more to add. I mean, it's you are judged ultimately. He's been given a lot of rope, Brendan McCullum. He's been given basically the keys to the city. He can do pretty much what he wants, which is fine. I'm all for that, and I respect that. But you are accountable for performances, and if the team isn't performing, and Ashes series tend to test between Australia and England, define careers, and this will define Brendan McCullum. I mean, they've been building up. This whole Brendan McCullum, Ben Stokes era has all been geared towards winning the Ashes in Australia. So if they don't, then there's some vulnerability there, and questions will certainly be asked, that's for sure.
All right, time to get stuck into the Ask Dizzy questions. So we've had heaps come through on the Instagram page. Thanks to everyone for sending them through. Keep doing so, even if it's not on an Ask Dizzy post and you just think of something during the week and you're like, I'd love to know Dizzy's thoughts on this. Just send us a message and I'll put it to him on the next episode. So that's as easy as that, to get a question answered by one of the legends of Australian cricket. So we've got, we'll start with our mate Adam Bannon, loving his coverage of the Ashes over in the USA. So he wants you to put your coach's hat on. It's one of your favourite hats to wear, second to your media hat. And he wants to know what changes you'd make tactically for England. Maybe if there's anyone in the squad that you might bring into the team, but what changes would you make to the tactics heading into the Adelaide Test?
Yeah, well, first thing, I'd stick to discipline, line and length before pivoting after 5 overs to a short ball plan. That'd be a start. I'd bring in Josh Tongue. He impressed me in Canberra. I was there for the PM's 11 with ABC Sport. He bowled fast. He bowled aggressive. I really like the look of him. And I'd also be tempted to bring in Matthew Potts, the Durham seamer. He does almost like the donkey work. He can run in and bowl line and length, time after time, over after over. So I'd be tempted to maybe explore bringing those guys in. I'd definitely bring in a spinner. They've got Shoaib Bashir as their main frontline spinner. I'm not sure he's the best option that England could have brought out to Australia, but he is their number one spinner. So in Adelaide, you need to play spinner. So I'd either bring him in or I'd bring Jacob Bethel in. You can lengthen the batting and he can bowl some tidy left-arm spin. So I think they're the options that England have. I mean, really, Bethel's the only spare batter. They've picked their squad and they're backing their batters in. It'll be very unlikely they'll make any changes to their top 7 from a batting perspective. This McCullum, Stokes regime, they back their players in, which I love. Part of me as a coach, I absolutely love that they just back their players. But also, players have got to be accountable for performances. You've got to take personal responsibility as a player. And, I just wonder whether that's happening or not in this England setup.
As we heard, they over-prepared, which was the reason they lost that second test as well. So
that's come back to bite Brendan McCullum, that comment. I, as a coach, I actually understand what he's trying to say. They had a lot of training sessions and you want to give your players a rest. And I think where England missed the trick, they lost the test match inside 2 days in Perth. They had an opportunity to go to Canberra and play that 2-day game. Now, they decided against that. They wanted to go and prepare up in Brisbane in the heat because that's and train at the Gabba because that's what the conditions, that's what they're going to get in the test match. Canberra's going to be very foreign. But I would ask the question then, well, why did you play at Lilac Hill? Leading in, you're playing a low, slow wicket. Why didn't you book the whacker? That would be my question to the hierarchy of English cricket. Why didn't you do what India did the previous year and have 8 days of training and preparation on the centre wicket at the whacker and the nets leading into the Perth test?
And what happened in that test?
Exactly right. So why did you not do that? Why did you choose to go to play at a low, slow wicket at Midland Guildford or Lilac Hill? Because England have said they've been preparing for this test series for 2 to 3 years. So it would stand to reason if you've planned ahead so far, you would have booked all the facilities well in advance. So that would be my question to the England hierarchy. Why didn't you have the whacker locked away and to train and prepare and play maybe a practice game or even centre wicket scenarios amongst yourselves for a week like India did leading into that first test?
There's someone else with a pretty significant standing in English cricket, obviously, who would be asking these serious questions as well. And it leads me to this question from Ryan Borlase. I've been excited to ask you this, Diz. He wants to know, what do you think of how Piers Morgan is carrying himself around the Ashes?
Well, look, Piers is very vocal, isn't he? And he loves his country, he loves his team, and fair play to him. Look, let's just see what the end result is of this series. I mean, Australia are 2-0 up, and that's great. And we've obviously got, well in front. But admittedly, Australia need to win another game or at least draw one to retain the Ashes. So We'll wait until after this Adelaide test. We'll have a little bit more information, won't we?
Ryan, I'm coming back to that question next episode, just just after the next test played to see if we can get see if we can get a bit more out of him. But no, I'm enjoying Piers' commentary just like everyone else. It's like watching a good roller coaster in motion. So it's always good. It's there's ups, there's downs, there's all sorts. So this question could be, this is an open canvas for you, Diz.
Right.
Ty Marshall has asked,
Yep.
what your most favourite cricket moment is? And I think this is Ty's first question to us as well. So welcome to the pod, Ty. Thanks for listening in.
Yeah, thank you, Ty. My favourite cricket moment. Wow. I'm not sure if I've got one out and out favourite moment. I think anytime you win a game of cricket, you win a match, you win a series, you contribute towards that, is a significant moment. People would assume it's if you take a certain number of wickets or you score a certain amount of runs, that would be a highlight. But for me, it was all about the team moments. I mean, I think, to be honest, I think 2004 when we beat India in Nagpur, to go 2-0 up in that series and win for the first time in 35 years in India, for me, that's probably my highlight as a player. That was pretty special.
I thought you were going to say that. I just had a funny feeling.
You just had a feeling, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So,
thanks for the question, Ty. Appreciate it.
No, that was a good one. Now, this one's come through from Masood. Now, Masood is asked, we've asked you a similar question about, in the last couple of episodes, we talked a lot about players in domestic cricket who have missed the opportunity to play Ashes cricket or haven't played as much Ashes cricket, but or Test cricket in general. This one's actually Ashes specific. He's asking if there's any players that you specifically think missed out on the opportunity to play Ashes cricket who you thought might have had a good impact. One that I immediately think of that would have done probably quite well in English conditions, didn't get the opportunity, played one Test match, is Chad Sayers, but he was really well suited to those conditions abroad. In particular, I thought he could have had a good series. Another one that I had was Michael Nessa in English conditions as well. I think he's gone on a couple of Ashes tours there, but just hasn't managed to play a game. He's the pink ball in Australia specialist. But have you got anyone that you can think of? Masood actually suggested Nathan Bracken as well as someone who came to mind.
I take your point regarding Chad Sayers. I think Chad was picked to play his one test in South Africa. I think he was past his very best. Like he was, if he was going to play for Australia, he probably should have been picked 3 or 4 years before that, when he was probably at his prime for South Australia. So yeah, but I take your point, Michael Nessa. Look, he'd be superb in English conditions. Has played county cricket for Glamorgan, and has done really, really well. I think he played a little bit for Hampshire, but yeah, just off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to seeing potentially in 2027 in the UK, and I know he's signed for Nottinghamshire for the next 2 seasons, is Fergus O'Neill. I actually think the Victorian seamer, I think he could do quite well in English conditions if given the opportunity. And I think by the time 2027 comes around, there's going to be changes in the Aussie bowling lineup. Who knows if Stark's going to get there? Hazelwood, we're not sure. Cummins, you'd expect he's probably there. Scotty Boland, maybe not, as with Michael Nessa. So I think someone like Fergus O'Neill could really come into the conversation for 2027 Ashes.
I certainly agree. And the other one I liked is Xavier Bartlett. Be a star and someone that I want to see in the Test arena very soon. Now, a bit of a sad one, actually, this one from Matt Hutchinson, but I think it's really important we touch on the passing of Robin Smith. And Matt wanted to know if you had any memories specific to Robin Smith that you could share with the listeners.
Yeah. Look, obviously, incredibly sad passing of the judge, Robin Smith. I played against him a number of times. Was was quite good mates with him. I mean, literally in Perth, he came. He was outside the media centre, and security had knocked on the media centre door and said, "Oh, this gentleman's here. Says he knows some people," and said, "This is the judge. Come in." So we got the judge in, and he came and sat with us, and we would have spoken for about an hour. It was really good fun to catch up with him. I hadn't seen Robin for many, many years, and he obviously lived in Perth, and he wanted to see some of his former teammates and guys that he played cricket with and against. Obviously, a lot of the media contingent are here. So basically, I took him around to the Fox studio. I took him to Channel 7. I took him to the SEN box. I took him to the ABC box and the Triple M box. So it was great to just spend a bit of time with him. And it hit us all hard, to be honest, when we found out he'd passed away, because we'd all just spent time with him less than a week beforehand in Perth, and because he came to visit us. So it was really sad. And I mean, he shared with us his battles that he's had over the last decade or so, but he was very forthcoming, very open about that. He'd spoken to the England Lions about the challenges he's had in the last few years, only a couple of days before he passed away. So it was a real shock for us all, Trav. And yeah, we're devastated. Our deepest sympathies and condolences to Robin's family and friends. We're very sympathetic. He was a lovely, lovely man.
Yeah, that's pretty well wrapped up by you, Diz, and sharing my thoughts and prayers and messages to all of those affected as well, because it's never good to lose a great person in our game, and unfortunately we keep losing too many good ones. So the third test, I haven't got your 11 yet. So before we finish up this episode, any changes? We've spoken about the bowling, but are you foreseeing any changes to the batting lineup?
I'm not. The only one I think would be if the Australian selectors, that their toughest decision, I think, is if Usman Khawaja's fit, do they bring him back in? Or do they... I think something that could happen, I think two things could happen. If Usman comes back in, they'll put him at the top of the order, they'll move Travis Head back down to 5, or they will play Usman and bat him in the middle order and leave Travis at the top. I think Weatherald keeps his spot. Travis obviously will keep his spot. So it just which way they'll pivot, which would mean, unfortunately, Josh Inglis would be out. For me, though, if that's not the case, I'd be still looking. If it was me as a selector, I'm playing Nathan McSweeney at 5. To be honest, just got a double 100. He had the opportunity last year opening the batting, which was out of position. For me, he'd be in front of Josh Inglis for me. This is no disrespect to Josh Inglis at all. I think he's a fine player, but I think Nathan McSweeney had the opportunity last year at the top of he was batted out of position, top of the order. I'm not sure why Josh Inglis has all of a sudden leapfrogged him. So for me, I'd be pivoting and I'd potentially play Nathan McSweeney in Adelaide in the middle order, and I'd leave Weatherald and Head to open the batting.
Yeah, and I will clarify for you, Diz, as well, because we spoke about the changes to the second test, and you said about bringing Josh Inglis but he's in the squad. So McSweeney is, you're working with what you've got in the squad. So if you could, you could bring a player from outside the squad.
And sorry, just jumping in, just on the bowling, I think what will happen, I think Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon will come in, and I think that means Doggett and Nisa will probably miss out. But we touched on it just a bit before. I don't mind your suggestion of maybe giving Scotty Boland a bit of a rest, play Michael Nisa, and save Scotty Boland for the MCG and the SCG.
Well, for what it's worth, I would be bringing Usman back in based on the squad. I mean, I'd love to see McSweeney in the middle order. I just don't think realistically it's going to happen for the second.
And it won't happen. That's just my personal
That's it. So I'd go with Usman. I really like the balance of the team. Whether you've got Head or Usman at 5 or 1, to me doesn't matter because they can serve a purpose. So I look at that being a flexible role, and they've spoken about it. Andrew McDonald's spoken about it, but I would actually bring Usman in at number 5. His last test for Australia, batting at number 5, he scored 100 in both innings. That was when he was replacing Travis Head, who had COVID for that Sydney test in 2022, and then he came and actually replaced Marcus Harris at the top of the order for that final test because they just couldn't get him out of the team. I personally think Usman at 5, you've got the 2 aggressive openers. If things don't go according to plan, you've got 3 really solid, experienced players behind him in Labuschagne, Smith, Khawaja. So that's mine. So look, let's see how it all plays out. It's going to be exciting, and how good. I mean, I'm sorry, I know we've got lots of English listeners. We want a lovely close series, but on the other side of the coin, Dizzy and I, based in Adelaide, we're both SA born and bred. It would be pretty special to see Australia win that series in Adelaide and see the celebrations that would come off the back of that. So pretty exciting week ahead. Plenty of busy one for you, no doubt, as well, Diz. I've no doubt that your schedule is packed out until the end of the Adelaide Test.
Functions and obviously working with ABC Sport. I'm doing a stint per day with TNT Sport as well, which is good fun. So doing that and doing a few functions. I'm appearing night of day 1, the Grade Cricketer pod. They've invited me to do the live show there, so I'm looking forward to that, and got a couple of other functions that I'll be attending as well, which would be a lot of fun in the best city on the planet, Trav.
That it is, the best oval on the planet as well.
Correct.
We're excited, and in broad daylight this year as well for something different. So, hey,
which is my preference. And I think everyone will be happy with that. Obviously, the Village Green, everyone will be excited to be part of that. It's the greatest Test match in the world. Can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Well, thanks to everyone for listening and getting themselves involved with the Still Not Out podcast. We've done about 6 or 7 episodes, a few hour ones, a few half-hour ones, and we're absolutely loving it, Diz. It's nice to catch up with you every week, have an excuse to...
Well, mate, it's always good, Trav, and we'll do some more questions and throughout the Test match, because I think obviously there's going to be a lot of talking points, so we'll try and do this a little bit more often, and we'll get to everyone's questions, as I know there's a lot of people sending questions in, and we want to answer them all, so we will get to them. So just be patient with us, everyone, and we'll make sure that we get it done.
And another thing I wanted to touch on, Diz, you and I spoke about it, but we'd actually love to come out to some clubs and do a live podcast out on the road as well. So we've got the beauty of modern day technology. You can take it on the road with you. So if anyone's listening and they want to get Dizzy and myself out to your club to, come and record a podcast.
Well, a live show. How good would that be?
That's it. Live show. People can ask questions in the audience. We can promote your club as well. So please feel free to reach out, because we would love to get involved and see what we can make happen. So send us a message on the Instagram. If you're not following us already on our socials, we're on Instagram, X, YouTube. You can listen to the podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube now, you can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your good podcasts, you'll see it there. So many ways to get in touch with us. We're, always happy to respond to a message and see what we can do to help out. So it's been a pleasure to have everyone along for the ride so far. Can't wait to keep it up. We're only at the start of the season, so that's the most exciting part. And Dizzy, you have a great week, mate, and we'll catch up soon.
Mate, chat to you soon, Trav. Always good to catch up.
Always a pleasure. See you next time.